Okay, so when I was growing up, my dad owned a salvage yard, which is the coolest thing for your dad to do when you're a little boy, because it's a giant, dangerous metal playground where you can drive cars and smash them into each other. It's really the best thing ever. But for my dad, it was a pretty tough job. Owning a small business in a small town is tough. It's not a 9-to-5, clock in, clock out type thing, 24/7. It was made extra hard for my dad, his own fault, because I believe most salvage owners had a pretty extensive criminal record. Especially in his younger days, teens and 20s racked up quite a few charges. This is challenging in a small town because the cops are the same cops forever. They're not retiring or getting transferred. The same cops in 1980 are here in 2015. So, owning a small business, especially a salvage yard, people are going to break in and try and vandalize things, steal car radios, anything like that. And we never called the police for two reasons. One, my dad's pride. You don't want to call the guy that slammed you on the ground and arrested you when you were 20 for help when you're 40. That sounds awful. I wouldn't call him. That guy's a dick. And also, second reason, if you do call them, they're not going to show up. They're like, oh, James Thomas needs our help? No, not going. We might show up 3 hours later. Is anybody still here? Nope, it's all clear. No problem. So we just had to deal with this kind of stuff on our own, which my dad had his own version of justice sometimes. So we didn't have security at the salvage. We didn't have enough money to build a fence. So he said, I think he was probably just too cheap. So you didn't really have to break in. You could just walk in and take whatever you wanted. So a lot of times we would just drive by the salvage all the time. If we were leaving the house, we'd go the long way just to drive by, just to see if anyone's in there. So one night, it's probably 11 o'clock, maybe midnight. It's a Saturday. He was like, hey, you want to go drive by the salvage? Yes, definitely. Sounds like an adventure. Go drive by. We see an old van kind of parked in the salvage cars a little bit, which was a classic trick by people trying to steal from the salvage, because they would think that their car looked like a salvage car, like pretty smashed up, old and dirty. But, I mean, we had some organization to it. We wouldn't have put, their Aerostar van with the Dodge pickups. So we knew right away, oh, there's somebody in there, they're probably stealing. And you can tell, a few hoods are popped along the way. So Dad slams on the brakes, we hop out. And I'm 12 years old at this time. It's pretty scary. The first thing he does, he runs over and he lets the air out of all four tires of this van. Just confusing for me, because I thought we were trying to get people to leave the salvage, not keep them there. So he looks at me and says, can't let him get away. I was just like, oh, okay. I didn't realize we were looking for direct confrontation with these people. They seem like scary criminals. So my dad immediately starts just marching out into the salvage. I don't know if you guys have ever been to a salvage yard at night, but it's terrifying. It's midnight. It's dark. It's summertime, slight breeze, bright moon. So there's light reflecting off everything metal and all the glass. And everything's bent and broken. So there's light everywhere that's kind of moving when you walk. The wind's blowing, so things are making noise, creaking everywhere. And there are people in there that are watching you that you're trying to find. It's terrifying. But my dad was never scared of stuff like that. So he walked straight in. Big guy. He was 6'1", 6'2", probably 250 pounds. Trying to find these people and get them to come out, yelling things like, if I find you, I'm going to beat you to death. Just trying to coax them out. Was not working. Those people were not coming out. And in a salvage, you can hide anywhere. Just crawl under any car, and you're invisible, basically. So after, 20, 30 minutes of walking around in the middle of the dark, it's obvious we're not going to find him. He looks at me, he says, Kyle, they're not coming out. And I was like, okay, I guess we're going to go home and nothing bad's going to happen. He says, stay right here. I'm going to get the loader. which you guys don't know what the loader is, but what it is a giant forklift. The wheels are probably 5-6 feet tall. You have to climb a ladder to get into it. It's used on salvage yards to use the forks and pick up cars and smash them and just do whatever. So what he does is he starts up the loader and drives it to the front of the salvage, stops it in front of their van, puts the forks underneath their van, and lifts it up as high as he can lift it. It's probably 15 feet in the air, and drives it to the back of the salvage. And I'll never forget just the sight of the van illuminated in the headlights of this machine just being carried back. And you know, these people that were in there were just absolutely terrified. Like, their car is just being taken from them, and there's nothing they can do about it. They can't really call the police and say, I was breaking into the salvage and the guy took my car. So we just take that car, put it in the back of the salvage, wedge it between a few cars so they can't get it out. He drives the loader back to the shop, parks it, and he gets down. And my dad was a very stoic man. He didn't smile or laugh very much. He was very serious. So, but he gets off that loader, climbs down the ladder to it, and man, he's excited. I'll never forget, his smile is huge. His eyes are like shining with happiness, and he's just like, got their asses. And then we went home. And, that's it.